Hello, Suitcase listeners. This is Cindy Chen, your host for the podcast of The Rest of Your Life, My Childhood Suitcase. Today, I have a guest with me who is a Seattle native and also happens to be a fellow actor friend of mine. He is a very prolific seasoned performer whom you may have seen him all around the greater Seattle area, be it Pillow Man, Immersion Theater, Murder Mysteries, etc., etc. Please welcome a very good friend of mine, Mr. Eric Wu. Say hello.
Hello, world.
Now, the whole theme here is, because my podcast is unpacking, I'm inviting you into my suitcase. I am inviting you to unpack yourself. Can you tell the listeners about yourself?
Well,
And speak loudly.
Well, I'm the middle child of a series of brothers and one half-sister. My father was from Shanghai, China, and my mother was from a little town called Neenah in Wisconsin.
And how can you tell the listeners what will be the nearest town to Neenah, I think?
Well, there are some Wisconsin local district capitals. One is called Appleton, and the other one is called Oshkosh. Neenah is actually probably closest in terms of major cities to Green Bay.
How close would you say it is to Green Bay versus to Madison?
I think it's the difference between like an hour drive and 2 hours, maybe.
From where exactly?
An hour to Green Bay, 2-ish. I've never actually driven to Madison.
That's okay. Yeah. Now that we have given the listeners the background, I know that you're not from around here. Can you tell the listeners where you're from originally?
So I was born in Washington, D.C. I was there for 6 years, and then we moved out to Shanghai, China for 8 months. And after that, I went back to D.C. again for a year, 2.25 years. And then after that, we moved out to Seattle proper so that mom could be closer to his siblings.
You need any good presidents there in D.C.?
Unfortunately not. I was a little too young.
Oh, but you've been to the White House, I hope.
Yes.
Oh.
I did take the White House tour once when I was younger.
Kick ass. I know it would take about months to try to book a tour these days.
I also got to be there for the Easter egg hunt. Mom has a couple of little wooden Easter eggs with paintings on it for the Easter egg hunts of 98 and 99.
Oh, really? And she still has that in her house?
Yeah, they're around.
Okay, cool. Tell the listeners more about yourself.
Well, I consider myself a well-rounded person because I seem to like just about anything that I get involved with. Except for slug vegetables. I'm still not a fan of slug vegetables.
Slug vegetables?
It's a slimy vegetable that is made in China. Oh. I actually don't know the proper name, but my older brother just calls them slug vegetables.
How would you describe it to the listeners who are not Asian?
Well, they're green and they kind of have like a clear shine on them, and when you bite into them, it's kind of like biting into a less firm Jello.
Yeah. You say it's kind of like a sea cucumber?
It's not a sea cucumber.
Oh goodness! I've seen something like that at the dinner table, and me being a picky eater, I'd be, no thanks. I'll stick to having McDonald's, thank you. Or fried chicken or whatever. I don't know if you ever wanted to go deeper or something. Yes. What would you say would be the highlights of your acting career? Since I've known you since 2016, I know that when we first met, we were in the United States of China.
That was definitely a highlight in terms of fast turnarounds.
Can you tell the listeners about it?
So, I was reached out to for this audition. I was basically asked to come in, I think in part because I was one of the few young Asians in the Theater Puget Sound database. And when I got reached out to, he basically said, this is an emergency casting.
From Nicholas.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in order to do that, I also had to talk with my director about cross timing, just because I was in another production at the time too. The outdoor trek production of Space Seed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So thankfully, my role was small enough that I felt comfortable asking, can I step away from the production for a certain amount of time? Mm-hmm. And thankfully, our director was nice enough to say, this is a small enough role that I get it. You can do that.
Oh, cool.
And the nice thing is that it finished before the run began.
Yay.
So I didn't have any conflict in that area.
That is such a relief. A little bit of a context here. I was in that play, The United States of China, and I can't remember Nicholas's last name, so I'll put it in.
Vasily.
Vasily, thank you. Nicholas Vasily. And I was about 1 or 2 months into it. I played a secretary. Not really too many lines, of course, but it was a very chaotic production. We had a bit of a casting issue with the two actors who were supposed to play the prosecutor, Charles Ming. That is the character. The first actor bowed out, scheduling conflicts. The second one bowed out. I don't know exactly why, maybe personal reasons or whatever. And then this dude here, 9 days before we were supposed to open...
12 days.
12 days. We were supposed to open at Hales Ales Brewery over in Fremont. And this dude came on, and he's just... I don't know exactly how he did it, but he was just incredible learning his lines.
It was not the most fun experience. I actually remember I had a weekend away before the show. Mm-hmm. During the entire drive to Portland and back, that entire time was basically practice time. I was driving at the time, so that my scene partner basically was always working me, even though it was frustrating, shall we say. Mm-hmm. But
who was your scene partner?
I was driving with Mom.
Okay. Tell me more about your experience, having brought on a last minute, basically.
It was interesting. Nicholas's style was a little less precise compared to what I was used to in the other production I was working on.
How do you mean?
In the sense that because we were so condensed, it felt like in terms of the blocking, it was a little less dynamic in terms of how everyone was moving around. So some of it was also me just kind of coming into the role in its own way, trying to better understand it, mm-hmm. and then see if that could also translate into movement outside of the main blocks. And the other part of it was just having a little bit of fun with it, because I got the distinct feeling that despite the position of everyone in this courtroom, I'm the most powerful person in there.
Yeah, you were really fantastic. You were really fantastic as a prosecutor, because a prosecutor is supposed to open the court, addressing it, if you will. I don't know what all it's like in the legal system. You definitely had this vibe around you that keeps the audience captive.
Yeah. Like I said, it's about... sometimes the manipulation is subtle. Sometimes it's the matter of stepping back and letting someone tie their own noose. And sometimes it was just a matter of drilling to get to the point of why all this had to happen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it was also a very, very political play as well. Now, this was back in 2016, and it took place in the play a few years later. Thankfully, it has not taken place, not being United States of China, because it's still the United States of America, god damn it.
COVID delayed the inevitable.
That is true. I'm not going to bog you listeners down with politics and all that jazz, but it was a very political play, and I could see why major theaters didn't want to do it, including Inamon Theater, and maybe that's why those two actors before you bowed out of the production.
I know nothing about it.
that is definitely okay with me, because the important thing as an actor is to just come up and do it. Come up and do it, no matter where you lean. Is that right?
Yeah. But it's also about knowing your boundaries, too.
Yeah. Explain.
So, knowing your boundaries is about knowing your material and asking yourself, are there areas that you are going to make hard cutoffs? Like, this was something that they talked about when I was going through college. Mm-hmm. That part of defining the performing artist is define your own borders so that you aren't just pure putty and can actually bring something interesting into the show.
And what kind of boundaries would you say as an actor that you're not willing to have crossed? A hard line.
I still don't feel comfortable doing nudity or sex scenes at this point.
Isn't everybody uncomfortable?
Not necessarily.
Oh, I completely understand. Neither am I, thankfully.
Yeah. But I also try and be a little bit cautious when learning about the rules in terms of how much swearing goes on. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily that I'm against swearing per se, but I'm of the belief that swearing is actually an expression of a lack of, how do I put this? Sometimes I feel like people who swear are looking for easy words to use rather than trying to be a little more specific. Like calling people excrement and saying that having sex is a bad thing just feels lazy in terms of demeaning someone.
Would you say that they're a bit less articulate, but actually really trying to get their point out there or something?
I suppose so.
It's amazing how language is a very subjective subject. Particularly when it comes to Shakespeare.
Oh, yes. That is probably one of the spaces that I actually have a lot of room for improvement.
Oh yeah? Tell me about it.
I've done one Shakespeare play so far in my career. Well, technically one in an eighth, but learning Shakespearean dialect is just a little more challenging for me as my studying habits happen, because I'm more of an outside-in learner where I take the ideas and then try and find the exact words going on. Whereas in Shakespeare, there's a precision to the language that helps it flow, which was a little more difficult for me.
Which show did you do?
The Tempest.
And who did you tell the listeners who you played?
I played one of the young lovers.
Ferdinand?
Yes.
Yay! But I bet you got to kiss Ariel. No, I'm sorry, not Ariel. Miranda.
I don't know that it was actually built in.
I think it was when I came to see you and you got to kiss the girl.
I've blocked out some of that show from my memories, so I do not recall it, unfortunately.
Well, that doesn't. It was also the most difficult thing about doing Shakespeare.
Well, aside from the language, I think some of it is also just. I always take whatever part I take seriously. Mm-hmm. But the other thing that was difficult for this particular group is that it was a small enough group that it had to, like so many summer stock Shakespeare, it was a lot of traveling around to get to the shows.
Oh, yeah,
That could be hard too.
Oh, yeah, one of those touring companies.
Yes.
Between you and me, I don't think that the person who played Ariel was that good. No? I played a much better Ariel than he did.
Well, that's your opinion. And don't let Allison know that. So.
I'm just saying, I'm a much better Ariel, particularly when it comes to singing. But anyway, would you want to do Shakespeare again?
One day I think I will try again.
Which production would you like to do?
I think I'd want to do one of the tragedies. Really sink my teeth into something a little more meaty.
Anything particular?
I've never actually seen any productions of Othello yet. I would love to give that a shot one day.
Ooh, you want to do Iago?
Maybe.
If you were in Othello, I would definitely come see you. And what are your other highlights? And we'll get to the low points later, but any other highlights you want to tell the listeners?
When we were just getting out of the pandemic, I did a film show. It was about the experience of Japanese internment in World War II, put through a play. That was a really special time, in part because everyone was just starting to get their acting gears going again, in part because the producer was actually one of the childhood teachers of my younger brother, and in part because there's all these little complexities that came out during the process that I thought was really fun.
Explain.
Well, my character, I always had I tried to play a little less certain at first, but I kind of was pushed into you're basically the man of the stage during the entire filming process, so that kind of pushed me little by little into someone who gets what's going on and has to know how to navigate without all the same kind of outrage that my younger siblings had.
That's very interesting. What was going through your mind when you were playing the big brother on stage?
Honestly, keep coming back to one scene in my mind about where I talk with my younger sister who got picked up off the street and was basically let out because the other officers realized that there was nothing going on. And I would just remember there was this little thing where I was basically laying it all out for my younger sister that, look, it's only going to get worse from here. And my younger sister has a little thing of, I like living here. And as she leaves, I say to myself, so do I. In a kind of an acknowledgement that I don't like what's going on either. I'm just seeing it a lot more clearly than you.
Have you ever met any of the internment camp survivors? Or any of the children?
None that I'm aware of. Well, let me take that. None that I remember.
Well, that's okay. I mean, wow, it's just really interesting how there's a piece of history over there that I never even know of. And I'm actually from here, for Pete's sake.
Sometimes it can get awkward when we have to criticize where we're from.
Yeah, that is true. In fact, actually, I read somewhere that one of the internment camps at Puyallup is where the fair is. I can't remember exactly, but it had a ironic feel to it. I can't remember happiness or something about happy metals. I don't know. Blissful or whatever.
I don't remember.
It doesn't matter. But yeah, how did it feel? How did it feel coming back from the pandemic?
Coming back from the pandemic was like,
as an actor,
it was an interesting experience. I was so used to just working, seeing others, finding little ways to amuse myself in one way or another, that rebuilding my habit to go out for things was a little bit weird. At the same time, though, I never, ever, ever wanted to stop, even during that period of time. Mm-hmm. So it was also a matter of sitting on my hands and saying, okay, what's available now?
Mm-hmm. What were the other creative outlets that you did while everybody was shut in?
I had a friend group that I would hang out a lot with. Mm-hmm. And I had a girlfriend at the time who was very enthusiastic, shall we say. So she was always very good at either coming over to me or me going over to him. So that helped a lot. Mm-hmm. Being part of each other's bubble.
Oh, that's really sweet. I know it was a very strange time for everybody. So would you say it's kind of like finding your legs again? When you were in that production?
A little bit. I think I did have a couple murder mysteries that were happening just before I got cast in that.
Oh, yeah?
So that helped a little in starting to build it up.
How did how did you get into the whole murder mystery tour?
I auditioned for it. I auditioned for it in 2016, back before it was rebranded as American Immersive Theater,
Why was it changed to American Immersion?
because it was doing more than just murder mysteries.
Oh, like what?
Well, they also have programs for Famous for a Day. We have
What's that?
that's basically where a person can buy the actors just coming around and treating them like they're a celebrity for a day.
Okay.
There's a atmospheric entertainment where basically we just show up and play the part without any specific activities in mind.
You mean like the Fantastics? Oh, I'm sorry, Tony and Tina's wedding?
In the sense that if they wanted a 20s atmosphere, you'd come in as a 20s person.
Okay.
And we also have princesses that can be rented out. And
For birthday parties and stuff.
yeah. And then, let's see. And then I think we still do Zoom shows, but not as much anymore.
Well, yeah, because everybody has to be out and about.
True, but it was a feature of the pandemic times.
Oh, yeah, that is definitely true. That's definitely true. Who would you say is your favorite mystery writer? Your favorite author? While we're on the subject here.
You know, truthfully, I haven't read as many mysteries as you might think.
No?
Yeah. Although, if I can bend the rules slightly, I've actually been really impressed with what Rian Johnson has done with the genre.
Oh, yeah, with the Knives Out trilogy.
Exactly.
How do you think he have achieved all that compared to, let's say all the other Sherlock Holmes mysteries or Agatha Christie's, Hercule Poirot or Ms. Marple, etc., etc.
One thing about the mystery genre is that it's usually split between two different distinct types, the noir and the classical. A lot of the classical authors will get a lot of the glamour of mystery. Those are your Sherlock Holmeses, your Poirots, what have you. Those were very British in sensibility when they were created. Whereas noir is a little bit more down and gritty. You're chasing something and you can trust nobody.
Oh, like Sam Spade.
Yes.
Or some other detectives.
Yeah.
Some other hard-boiled detectives.
What I find interesting about Rian Johnson is that he takes that old school style of mystery, but then also injects it with a distinctly Jane Austen style flavoring.
Can you give us an example here?
There was a joke on a video I once watched about how Jane Austen has the same plot in all her stories, but
Yeah.
as part of giving it spice is that it adds a spark of witty social critique in the process.
Okay, go
So-
on, please.
What Rian Johnson does in all of his mysteries is that the mystery is central to what's going on, but there is a huge injection of theming going on in the process.
Theming. Explain.
Like, for example, in Glass Onion, it's asking, what does it mean to be a good person surrounded by the tech bro culture, that kind of entrepreneurial break everything as you go idea.
Silicon Valley.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or for Knives Out, it was, what is it like when suddenly the patriarch of a generational wealth family suddenly feels like he needs to change up how he's going to dole out his inheritance? Or for the latest one, what does it mean to be sincere in your faith in a space where it might not necessarily have the same values in that faith?
I've been wanting to see Wake Up Dead Man. See if it's better than Glass Onion. Because I've read some reviews about Glass Onion, so I'm hoping that Wake Up Dead Man would be better.
Have you seen either of them yet?
I haven't seen Wake Up Dead Man yet. Gonna have to skip Glass Onion. Wake Up...
Should I just give it a try?
Get...
The fun thing about all the different things in the trilogy is that they're all distinctly tonally different too.
That's true. Now, the Wake Up Dead Man part, it kind of feels like a G.K. Chesterton mystery, Father Brown. Have you ever read any of the Father Brown mysteries?
One.
One. Okay. So I know that. So I would just say that Father Brown is different from Sherlock Holmes.
Well, Benoit Blanc is still the detective. That does not change.
Private detective. Actually, consulting detective?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. But anyway, go on, please.
But yeah, Wake Up Dead Man is great. I think that it has a lot to say about dialogue in terms of our beliefs. And it also tries to find the intersection between justice, mercy, and belief.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Very, very, very interesting about that. Can you elaborate on all of that?
Spoilers.
No. Please don't give me spoilers.
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying no. I respectfully decline to talk about the plot of Wake Up Dead Man.
So basically, no comment. You seem to be very into movies.
Yes.
Is this something that you have done since you were a kid?
I would not have been an actor if I did not love movies.
What would be your earliest one when you were a kid?
Hard to say. We had a collection of Disney VHSs that we had, so I watched a lot of those.
Any particular favorites?
Aladdin and The Lion King.
Both originals, by the way, not live action remakes, by the way. I say this because I'm a very faithful movie buff, and I shall not watch any of the live action. Thank you very much.
A remake by itself is not inherently a bad idea.
Well, if you want to do a remake, take a really bad film from years ago and try to make it better. That is my standard here.
Well,
don't take an already good movie and ruin it for everybody.
Well, what if every 30 or so years something keeps getting remade? You ever heard of A Star Is Born?
A Star Is Born, yes. It's been remade about 4 times.
Exactly. And it's somehow made money every single time.
Well, that's because it's A Star Is Born, not some other famous movie. But yeah, Aladdin and The Lion King. Wow, those are your favorites.
They were fun and memorable and had good characters to bounce off each other. I think young me, I had a certain appreciation that I was exposed to death that early.
Oh dear. Oh, and The Lion King?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That they didn't shy away from it. I think part of me appreciated it in its own way, even if it was scary or sad. I was like, this feels like something that they're treating us respectfully in their own way.
Oh yes, despite being that it's basically Hamlet in the savannah. In a lot of ways.
I mean,
think about it.
That's almost like saying, oh, by the way, everyone is on the hero's journey.
Oh yeah. Can you tell me what made you decide to become an actor?
Passion. I think that...
Had you always wanted to be an actor since you were a kid?
I know that it was in my short list of ideas growing up. Mm-hmm. I think that I dropped off of astronaut first because I didn't feel mathy enough. Then I dropped off historian when I woke up one day and realized I'm going to be looking at everything into the tiniest speck, and that feels so boring now. And I wasn't willing to work hard enough to become a basketball player.
But if you could pick any of those, what would you do the most? If not an actor.
Probably historian.
Oh yeah? Why do you think you would be bored if you were to study a lot of history?
History is never as glamorous as we like to pretend that it is. A lot of it as a historian is going back to find those primary sources to source, this event says that it was like this, but what does the actual first-hand and second-hand accounts talk about? Mm-hmm. And I think also, as big as the world is with all these different things for us to look at, I just don't feel like that I have a specific area that I would want to hold on to as my space of study.
Not even a particular subject? Maybe not wars?
I mean, One thing I've come to appreciate in the years since I discovered Extra History, a YouTube series, is that sometimes non-war-based stories can be just as interesting as the war-based ones. And I think that part of me does better consuming history than it does exploring it.
I don't know much about being a historian, but I do know there's a lot of papers that you have to put out and such.
Only if you're on tenure.
Either publish or die, publish or perish. It's basically what it is. On the astronaut part, doesn't every kid want to be an astronaut?
True. I was also there during the heyday of the space shuttle program.
Oh, within NASA. You said you didn't think that you were good enough at math.
Astronauts have to be really, really careful with their math because it's a lot of learning about trajectories and force and mass when you're out in space.
Oh, you mean you can't be one angle off or you'll miss the orbit or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. And basketball player?
I was pretty tall for a lot of my class, but I lacked stamina a lot of the time.
Really?
Yeah.
You ever played basketball?
I played it for 4 years.
Wow.
7th through 10th grade.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
But you want to be drafted by the NBA if needed be.
I'm short for the NBA.
I wouldn't say that because you're hella tall.
Tall in the NBA is 7 feet.
Have you ever seen any of the players that are 6 foot?
Why? Anyone who isn't 7 feet in the NBA is either 6'6", is anywhere between 6'6" and 5'8".
What, you're about 6'3", right?
6'1" and 3/4".
6'1" 3/4. Oh, so you're as tall as Mr. E. Because I can't say his real name. But ultimately, you decided to be an actor because you've always wanted to.
Yes.
What was your first production?
The first one I can remember was a Christmas show during my quarters in China.
Yeah. Well, tell us more about it.
It was just a little production called The Littlest Christmas Tree. It was kind of like a cabaret where I had one line and we did a bunch of songs.
Who did you play?
A tree.
The cutest little tree?
Nope, I was not the cute one.
Oh. But you would have been the cutest one.
I mean, I still have a very babyish face, but I don't know if I would have been the cute one.
Now, you mentioned that you spent some time in Shanghai. Can you tell me more about the experience there? What was it like compared to the U.S.?
Which time?
When you were a kid.
Well, that was an interesting time. I was living out of a 2-story house at the time. It was kind of in a suburby area of Shanghai, and I went to an international school for school. I remember it being consistently hazy a lot of the time, and I remember the school being kind of tile-ish, had a lot of tile floors. And I remember it being a mixture of Chinese and non-Chinese people in my grade. And I remember it laid the foundations for me learning some Chinese as a language.
Oh, none of the kids made fun of you.
Well, remember, I'm half Chinese by blood, so I actually looked pretty close to some of the others.
Oh yeah, that's true. You can definitely pass. You can pass as Chinese whenever you please.
Yeah. My big problem is my hair.
What about your hair?
It's a little too wavy compared to to my brother's.
I wouldn't know because I thought all Chinese hair is kind of the same.
My older brother, he's full-blooded Chinese. His hair is very straight and stiff.
Full-blooded? I thought you all have Chinese.
Not my older brother. Dad's first wife was a Chinese woman too.
Oh, so you're half brothers then?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
For privacy reasons, I would prefer not to go into their names.
Okay, your older brother Let's say for the listeners, what is hair textures like?
Like I said, it's kind of a little grainier.
Grainier.
Yeah, kind of like rolling on a straw.
Okay. And yours is wavy.
Yeah.
I never seen you with longer hair before, actually.
I don't usually like the idea of having long hair.
Mm-hmm. My nephew, whom you met, has longer hair.
True. But I don't know, I just don't see myself with a mullet or anything like that.
No, you're probably right. You probably wouldn't look good with that. And that other time you were in Shanghai? I thought you were there when you were a kid. But anyway.
Oh, I was. But I'd also go back for a couple summers through my elementary and middle and a little bit of high school.
Cool. Would you say you want to come back often?
I don't know. Apparently it's changed a lot.
In what ways?
My older brother takes his family to China during the summer, and A, it's very hot, and B, apparently a lot of the texture of my childhood has changed, because ever since things have been through a new one-party election, a lot of the street vendors have been shut down.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't
So it's a little less dynamic of a place to be.
Mm-hmm. You ever miss it sometimes?
I do have some pleasant food memories and aquarium memories and driving memories and terracotta warrior memories, but it's harder to get enthusiastic when you always remember you are always going to be stuck with a little bit of a language barrier.
Mm-hmm. Well, how good are you in Chinese?
I haven't practiced regularly in a while.
But can you are you fluent enough to be able to order in Chinese?
Probably not, actually. There's
No?
probably a lot of specific characters that I just can't remember anymore.
Like what?
Well, like, I know some of the basic foods like 炒饭, 狮子头, and 青菜, but there's a lot of things in terms of the types of chicken or pork or what have you that I just wouldn't be able to properly pronounce.
Yeah. As I understand, there are a lot of dialects in the Chinese language. If you say a certain word in one way, and that person is going to take it the wrong way, or rather, if you say a certain word the wrong way, the other person might be offended.
Well, it's not so much the dialect as the pronunciation. A lot of Chinese dialects have been slowly dying out because of the standardization of Mandarin as the national language.
I thought it was the Cantonese that's the national language.
Oh no, Cantonese is very localized to Hong Kong. It's Mandarin that's the thing that mainland China holds on to.
Yes, quite. But yeah, you've been in two different worlds, would you say?
I've been a visitor more to one than the other.
Have you ever been times where you feel a bit out of place? Mentally? Like, completely out of place?
Depends on the place. Just depends on the time.
Let's see, as a Chinese American in the US compared to Chinese American in China.
I feel much more out of place in China.
Oh yeah?
Like I said, language is everything.
Can you tell the listeners how you want to tell the listeners? The lessons and such.
Well, folks, nothing in this world will ever come to you easy, but that's why I'm finding different ways to reapproach my different goals in life.
And as an actor?
Exactly.
That same applies.
Exactly.
And to hold on to your dreams.
Or at the very least, understand why you're still going after them.
Yeah.
There was an important lesson that came in class during college. There was a special course called Defining the Performing Artist, which was all about how to be a good performer. And our teacher said, look, This kind of work, it's going to be very, very hard. If you can do anything else and be happy with that, do that first. Because for those of us in this business, we are either too passionate, too stubborn, or too crazy to let go of it.
Okay. Would you say this kind of work is unstable? Being an actor, that is.
No production will ever be long-term.
Oh.
And not unless you get on a touring show or you get on The Simpsons. But other than that,
Yeah, no Simpsons, please.
nothing will ever last your entire life.
What was your lowest point in your acting career? Any projects that you enjoyed less?
Truthfully, there was one holiday season where I was in the production of Elf the Musical.
Oh, yeah.
And while I love the cast and it was fun in its own way, I think spiritually a part of me felt hurt by the end because as a Christian, I was like, this is too sweet. Where's the texture from hope descending into a world full of pain?
Mixture? What do you mean?
I meant in the sense that it felt weird doing all this secular Christmas Showtime stuff when I wanted to be able to stay connected to the harder side of Christmas that I believe in as a Christian.
Okay. What would be the... Well, tell us more about that.
My choir director talks about how Christmas as we present it, we being the Christian church, is that it's not a time for us to let go of all the darkness and just pretend that it's shining for a while. It's a time for us to say, darkness was always with us, but into that darkness has come a light of hope, and from that hope we can build something much more powerful on top of. That's a spark of joy that you can make something much more beautiful than what the world says that it is.
That does sound very beautiful. Beautiful at that. Maybe a bit more nuanced if you were in the next Christmas production.
Or at the very least, segmented.
Well, let's see. And which of the Christmas production would fit most with your beliefs?
Honestly, A Christmas Carol would be something that was kind of a secular equivalent. In the sense that it was a man driven bitter by his life experiences and his own flaws, and then being shown that...
And heartbreak.
Being shown that there are bigger and greater things still around you, and that there is a darkness ahead of you if you are to continue on this path, and it's a re-spark of hope in his life.
Yeah, I entirely agree. Mine is Just a Wonderful Life. And
that is another good one.
And A Charlie Brown Christmas. I thought you were just gonna say Charlie Brown Christmas.
That one is also very sweet, and it's almost blunt in its way of laying it all out in front of you. But I just think I like A Christmas Carol a little better.
It's definitely. I really love the way you put it about the Christmas Carol. I might actually want to read the book. I've seen several versions, but I'm going to read a book. I'm going to read the book to add a bit more nuance to how I always see it.
Yeah, and because they always have to cut a little bit out or reinterpret it.
Of course.
Unless you're the 2009 version.
Which one is that?
That's the motion capture one.
The one with Jim Carrey.
Yes, that one. Admittedly, there were some Hollywood liberties taken to that one, but that one really captured a lot more of the fact that the Christmas Carol is kind of a horror Christmas blend.
Bit of a Christmas horror to it. Of course, there's ghosts in it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like the ghost of Christmas Past presented in there was actually from the book. The idea of something shining, like it was a shining light in its own way.
I always thought that Christmas Past would be a girl or something.
Popular culture stuff.
Anyway, well, thank you so much, Eric, and I really appreciate you coming on to this podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
And Remember, folks, please follow your dreams. And I hear you and I see you. Love you guys.